Hey there, coming to you here with our very first Pursuing Freedom podcast, and I'm super excited to introduce our first guest, but he's not new to me, one of my oldest friends and colleagues in the real estate industry, Euan Graham with the Graham Group at Madison Company Properties. How you doing there, Euan?
I am absolutely fantastic. Can't believe I'm on your first ever podcast. This is amazing.
I know.
You've
This
come a
is
long
kind of a
way.
big deal, so,
I'm truly honored.
Ewan and I have known each other since he first got into real estate, which is right around the time that we met. He got licensed at the end of 2010 and became Rookie of the Year in his first full year in real estate in 2011. And I was lucky enough to meet him at that time and just watch his journey for the last 7 years. And it's been an amazing journey to watch. I've never met somebody who's as driven, passionate, and honest about his approach to doing business. And all three of those things have led to his massive success, which I'm going to have him share a little bit about just, how his journey has been from that first year crushing it and all the way up until today. And we're going to talk a little bit about best practices. And I'm going to let Euan kind of take the floor here. So listen, buddy, I chose you to be the first on this podcast because I really, truly think you're amazing. I have so much respect for you. And I've always envisioned having a podcast where I bring some resources and information that I've picked up from relationships I've had with real estate agents over the years. And there's no better person to launch this podcast with me than you because you've brought so much value to our mutual clients, to me, and as a mentor to so many other agents along the way. So I think people are really going to be excited to hear this podcast and learn from you. People are always learning from you, and that's one of the greatest things about you. So thank you for being here. And why don't we just start by telling us a little bit about your background, where you're from, why and how you got into real estate when you did, and just a little bit about your journey since that beginning.
Well, thanks for the introduction, and just want to apologize right now for anybody that doesn't really pick up on my accent because I am from North Dakota, so we're going to struggle. We might struggle a little bit there, but no, seriously. I'm from Scotland. I grew up there until I was 28 years old and met my wife now, who is a Colorado girl, in San Diego. So we have been married for 13 years and have 2 kids, and ended up back in Colorado in 2008. So I've been lucky enough to call the Denver metro area my home for the last 10 years. And I think the big thing for me was, if I want to scale it right back to how I maybe had success in real estate and maybe success in other avenues in my life, is that I came here like a kid in a candy store. The opportunities that I saw when I moved to America were unfathomable to me. I just didn't grow up in that environment where really, if you wanted to work hard and hustle and have that immigrant mentality, which obviously I have coming from a different country, the opportunities are endless in the United States, and they still are. So I want to make that very clear to everybody that when I hear people complain, I have to take them aside and ask them why, because we are lucky to be in the United States and take advantage of the opportunities out there. So that's one thing I want to make clear, and that's one thing that always keeps me motivated and keeps me moving forward, is those opportunities. But taking it back to when I first started out, my first job in America was selling Yellow Page ads, and that was in 2008. And
It's a good thing you got out of that business.
Hey, do you not know that the Yellow Pages is still around today and really relevant? Because that's what we were telling people, that it was going to be around for the next 25 years. But why I mentioned that is because there was a huge learning curve for me there. Why I had sold Yellow Pages and why I was in that line of work, there was a reason for it. And the reason for it was it was hard work. It wasn't easy trying to sell Yellow Page ads back in 2008. But what it taught me, Erin, was how to build relationships, how to do the right thing by the client, the small business owner that I was selling to, and how to build relationships and actually build referrals back then. So my business back then was not cold calling like all the other guys. I was building a referral-based relationship business back then. So I always look back and think, why the hell was I selling yellow page ads? But that was the clear reason for it. I was quickly able to understand how powerful relationships were and how powerful a referral-based business was. So taking that forward, I got into real estate through a friend of mine who thought that I would be good at it and have the opportunity to be successful in the worst real estate market we have ever seen. Remember that, in 2010, I got my real estate license. And there was a couple things about that. I had a tremendous amount of pain in my life at that time because we had just had our first child, and me and my wife was staying at home with Isla. We had bought a house the year previously, which, you know, looking back on it, we probably shouldn't have because we couldn't really afford it. And I was in a different country. I was, you know, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a huge database of people that I could start calling on to talk about real estate with. So I had this pain in my life that I had to call upon every morning that I woke up when I got into real estate to realize that if I don't succeed at this, if I don't start selling homes or serving clients and finding a way to do transactions, I was going to lose everything. I was going to lose potentially my marriage, my daughter, America that I'd started to call home, and be back on a boat to Scotland. So there was a tremendous amount of pain. And I always ask people, what is the pain in your life? Because in real estate, you have to have, I feel that you have to have some kind of pain to drive you, to make you go out there and hustle, to make you want to wake up and be unemployed every day, because you really are. You've got to have that drive and hustle. And the other thing, I was incredibly naive, Erin. If I knew what I know now, I would never have got into real estate in the worst market ever. I was incredibly naive, but I believed in myself. I believed that if I was just given a chance, I would succeed. So I had incredible self-belief, and that's carried me forward to today. So that was how I got started in real estate, and was lucky enough to sell 36 homes in my first year, and come out Rookie of the Year for Denver in 2011. So I'm lucky. I'm a lucky guy, because I know you as well.
You are. But let me touch upon two things that you said there, which are really powerful. First and foremost, I appreciate that honesty, and that, it may seem like a cheesy word, but that vulnerability that you just said, that, if you didn't figure out how to succeed, you had your livelihood was on the line, your marriage, your children, your home, everything. And what a lot of people don't realize, or if you're in this business and you're in that place where you're feeling really hungry for more and knowing that, everything's on the line, not everybody's honest about that. And so I appreciate your honesty there, because whether you are brand new to real estate or whether you've been in the business a long time, there's going to be peaks and valleys there. And this is not just for real estate, it's for entrepreneurship in general. And the key to what you mentioned about getting into the business at the worst time possible, I got into the business in 2006, but became 100% commission in 2007, right before the market had a dramatic change. And I always joke, like you said, I was naive and got into it and then just went for it. Well, I always joke that I had a good perspective, because for me, there was only one way to go but up. I was so broke financially when I got into the business that I was building mine while everybody else's was crashing. And the truth of the matter is that whether it was 2008, 2009, or whether it's 2018, you could be in a valley right now. Even if you're in a booming market, the success of your business month to month and year to year doesn't just depend on how hard you work. It also depends on, things that happen in your personal life. Some tragedies can happen, or maybe you're restructuring your team and you're in a recruiting phase and you're training. Therefore, your volume may dip because you're busy doing something else that's necessary for building the foundation to get your business to the next level. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, whether you were slow when you started out because of the market, or whether, you know, you hit a slow point in your career because of, you know, other circumstances that are going on, you're going to have the peaks and valleys, and that determination and that belief that you will succeed is the foundation for everything. It's key to say to yourself, I know that I can succeed and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And also to know that you're not alone. So if you're out there listening to this and you're feeling like I could really use more business transactions, closing, relationship, or whatever, we're going to talk a little bit about some strategies on how you go about building that intentionally. But the first step is believing it's actually possible and being willing to do whatever it takes. And also to know that this too shall pass. Whether you're having a good day or a bad day, this too shall pass. So always forge ahead, always believe in yourself, and always keep going. Talk to me a little bit, Euan, about how you managed to build such a successful business. Maybe talk a little bit about, you know, your transactions, numbers, closings, et cetera, that you've had in subsequent years after your first year as Rookie of the Year. Because one of the really fascinating things is when folks get into real estate, they may feel that they can't be as successful as other people because they don't have as big of a sphere. You were brand new to this town. So I'd love for you to touch upon how you went about building your relationships, establishing them to begin with, nurturing them, and then what that turned into as, you know, as the years went by in terms of like future success.
Well, I think you touched on a lot of points there. And I think, especially in our industry in real estate, everybody's looking for that silver bullet. And I can tell you right now, there is no silver bullet. There isn't one thing that is going to make you successful. It's, I was talking to a group earlier this morning, and I told them, you know, I quickly made a pact with myself that I said, whatever the market is doing out there, I'm not going to let the market define my success. The only person that is responsible for my personal success is me. Is like, I have to do the actions. I have to, you know, be true to where my plan is going and stick to that. Because at the end of the day, we can all make excuses and blame the market. There's no listings, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, did we do that? And did we take the next step forward? So I think what was key for me, Erin, was I fell into real estate and I loved it instantly. I just fell in love with real estate. I felt passionate. I felt passionate for my clients. And I think that came across. I think there was an infectiousness, an infectious energy that this little Scottish guy was willing to do whatever it took to make it work for his clients. He would go to the ends of the earth, and that quickly developed into referrals to other friends, family, co-workers of these people that I'd been lucky enough to work with. So I think the bottom line for me was showing that value to begin with, and showing that work ethic and passion for the client, so that they knew I was going to go above and beyond to serve them, and they wanted to tell their friends and family about me. Now, did I understand how to build on that at an early age in my real estate career? No, I wasn't asking for referrals. I wasn't doing those building block exercises that we teach today. But at the end of the day, it was how can I make your life better? Not just the real estate part, but how can I make an impact in your life? And I look back to when you and I started out together, and we were just, you know, two peas in a pod. You were doing the loans, I was doing the real estate, and we built a networking group from the ground up, and we were always looking to be, and it's funny, I go back to this, the yellow pages for our clients. We always wanted to be the resource. If the client needed anything, we always wanted them to think about us. And, you know, back in the good old days, we used to give away at every closing a business card holder with all our trusted referral sources within it. So we used to give that as a gift because we understood the power of being the go-to person in their lives for everything they needed, and we wanted to be the problem solver. So if I can look back on anything that helped me build my business to start with, it was the drive, determination, passion, the willingness to do whatever it took in a really terrible real estate market, but go above and beyond and show value beyond the real estate transaction. And that's part of my, my mission, my statement in life is we want to serve you way beyond the real estate transaction because we know we can make an impact. And I think that goes a long way with clients in terms of that they see that we, that I really care, that we really care when we're serving a client. And it's not about getting paid at the end of the day. It's about developing a relationship and being able to deepen that relationship so that then I can go and serve their friends and family and co-workers and help them in their real estate pursuits and be their trusted advisor. So I think that's where I came from at an early start in my career, Erin, and I've just built on it from there, and obviously brought in different aspects of how to keep growing my business. And I've been lucky enough to grow my business every year. So I started in 2011, and I've grown my business consistently to last year where I closed close to 25 million in volume. But that's me as a solo agent, and that's something that I want to get away from of doing everything in terms of the agent side. So,
okay. How many closings units was that roughly to do 25 million in volume? Because that's a lot. It's a lot for a team, let alone a solo agent.
So last year was 55.
That's amazing. All right. So you mentioned a couple of things I want to dig my teeth into a little bit here, because I think it's important I know that when people hear you talk, they get inspired, fired up. I'm stuttering a little bit, but people get fired up by that passion, that energy, which you alluded to. And I think that it leaves folks wondering, how do you sustain your positive outlook, your high energy, your passion for the business, even through the ups and downs? Because sometimes I just like to get real here. I mean, whether you're hungry for business and you're struggling to pay the bills and that's your pain, or whether you're overwhelmed, overloaded, and you're crushing it with volume and doing great financially, you may be having a different kind of pain. You may be exhausted. You may not be seeing your family as much. So during those pain points, you still manage to bring that level of service and that dedication and that same energy to every client you've ever worked with. And I guarantee you that any one of our clients that listens to this would agree that they would never know that, inside you might be struggling with something, because you bring such a high level of commitment and consistency to every transaction. So what do you do to keep yourself in that positive headspace? I think people need to know that there is something you can do, and I want to hear from you. What do you do?
I think it's really important, Erin, whatever you're doing in life, and if you are, if you're self-employed and you're running your own business, you've got to focus on what you love and what makes you happy. And it's really important, because I've got a specific example to give you, and you know this. About a year ago, just over a year ago, I was in the doldrums with real estate. I was waking up in the morning like, I don't enjoy this anymore. I am beginning to kind of get bogged down and get burnt out completely with real estate. It was a different burnout. It wasn't like I was so busy I was just burnt out because I was working 14, 15 hours a day, Monday through Sunday. It was a different feeling. It was like I was beginning to drift from real estate and the love that I had for it. And I'll make it very clear. There's so many ways, as I say, you can skin a cat. There's so many ways to do real estate. There's so many ways you can grow your business. But my passion was relationships. It was serving the client. It was building my business based on doing a great job and always being top of mind and always adding value so that I was referred. And that was what I loved to do. It was 100% of my business. There was nothing else. It was pure referral-based business. And that's what filled me up. It was to get a call from somebody and say, Erin Bradley's talked about you. You're fantastic. We'd love to have you come over and look at our house and potentially list it. That made, that filled me up. That was the way I knew how to do business. I didn't buy leads. I didn't get sucked into any of that. But about 18 months ago, I wanted to grow a team. And, through some coaching and things, it became apparent to me that if I was going to grow this team to 3 or 4 agents, I couldn't provide everything for them in terms of the referrals. I had to buy leads. So I went through a period of about 8 months buying leads and growing a team and watching them cold call and follow up. And steadily I became a bit miserable. And in March, April last year, I said, enough's enough. I'm done with this BS. We're not buying any more leads. We're going back to the basics. We're going back to sustainable, long-term business, which is referral and relationship-based business. And what happened was, interestingly, the 3 agents that were working for me decided that maybe they liked the leads and liked that kind of olive branch, and maybe they wanted to pursue, another avenue on what they were doing. So it went back to me and my assistant. I went back into the thick of things, back into the relationships, and my business went through the roof last year very quickly. But I got that love back. I got that passion back, and I realized that wasn't for me. It wasn't what I love to do, and I need to build my business through relationships and through the value add. And I've got a lot of friends around the country that know me very well, and they've got amazing businesses and have grown incredible teams. And the one thing I will say to them when I meet up, you're never getting me to buy leads again. I hated it, and I'm not going to do it. I always want to grow my business by relationships, and they always laugh at that. But it's just being true to who I am and how I know how to do things. So,
okay. Well, talk to me about mindset then, because that's a perfect example of one of the challenges you've, worked through essentially. And challenges present themselves in many ways whether you're a solopreneur or whether you do have a large team, you're going to have new hurdles constantly. And that's not to sound negative. It's just reality. So what do you do to keep your mind in that positive state so that you can bring your best every day, regardless of circumstantial, interruptions, let's just say?
Well, I think there's some key things to having the right mindset. And I go by the mantra that skill set plus mindset plus action equals greatness. So you have to have, you can have all the skills in the world, but if you don't have that mindset and then you don't have the action behind it, you're not going to see success. You're not going to see your business develop. So, the things that I try and do, on a daily basis are waking up early, having gratitude, having affirmations, kind of focusing on the miracle morning stuff that we've done previously. Envisioning what my future looks like, having massive goals, but having a clear pathway to get to them. Always feeding my mind with positivity, and not, being in the car listening to radio and negativity, like listening to podcasts, really nurturing my mind with learning, always be learning, and always filling yourself up with positivity. And I think a big thing for me is what I definitely believe in and definitely follow is you are a true reflection of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And if you're spending time around people that are energy suckers or negative, and you're not doing well in life or well in your business, well, you may want to think about who you're hanging out with. And that's something that I really focus on is, who am I spending my time with? Who am I meeting with? Is it somebody that is successful? Is it somebody that believes in me? Do I believe in them? And likewise. So I think there's so many distractions out there, Erin, that we can just get caught up on spending half the day on social media or half the day by the water cooler talking gossip and things like that. I try as much as I can to stay away from that and focus on how am I adding value? How am I adding value to these people's lives? What more can I do? Who can I next connect with that is I'm going to be able to make an impact in their lives, and they're going to be able to make an impact in mine. So, there's no such thing as perfection. My days are far from perfect, but if you have a clear plan and a clear focus on what you're trying to achieve, things start to happen, and the energy that you bring, that manifests and it comes back in so many different ways. So I think that you've got to have, too many people get into our industry and they don't have that right mindset, and they don't have that drive and determination, and you're going to get chewed up and spat out pretty quickly.
All right. I love that. And I totally agree. Cutting the negativity is key. And then filling your mind with positive motivation is also key. I mean, every day you've got to wake up and put something good in your brain, like reading a good book or, following somebody who's, providing daily inspiration online, whatever it may be, just filling your brain with positivity to get your head straight before you start your day. I know I didn't prep you for this, but just curious if you could name like 2 podcasts or 2 awesome books or all of the above for anybody in the real estate lending world, something that you like to listen to, or something that's knocked your socks off.
Okay, so we could spend a whole podcast.
I know.
It goes back to basics for me, and you're probably going to know what I'm going to say in terms of a book. The Go-Giver, by far, is been the most influential book in my life. And it's not, it's a very simple book. And for everybody that's read that book, it's probably going to have some kind of impact in their life in any way. I've given that book away to, hundreds of people. It's something that I call my Bible, because I want to live my life in that servant mindset, and in terms of always give. Before you take anything, you've got to give. It's like the Gary V, the jab, right hook. So Go-Giver is my go-to. I read that, every year, and it resets me. And in terms of podcasts, I think when I first started listening to podcasts about 5 years ago, Tim Ferriss was definitely the first one that I really started honing in on, and just loved the people that he was interviewing and learning from so many different walks of life. So obviously none of it was industry based, but there were so many things that I would learn and pick up on and implement in my business. And then there's another one which, for those of you that don't like the cuss words, I would stay away from, but it's called the MFCEO. And it's about a guy that's built his own business, and he's an entrepreneur, and he does not mess around. He calls it straight, and I love it because it's straight shooting. It's straight from the hip. There's no namby-pamby. It's a great podcast. So that's definitely worth a listen. There's a lot of great people on it. So I'm always looking to learn and be inspired by other people and following their footsteps.
When you said something about the language, I was sure it was going to be Mike Kvitz, the real estate marketing dude, who's also awesome. His podcast is so great. I definitely did not use my filter when I was a guest on his show, because I was like listening to his shows and I heard that he doesn't have a filter, and I thought, great, we're in a safe space, and then realized, my lack of filter is now.
That is, you've got to be authentic to who you are. I'll cuss every now and then, but it's not about me trying to be somebody different for somebody else. If they don't like me, then that's fine. I'm not going to be a right fit for everybody to sell or help them buy. It just isn't possible. You cannot connect with everybody. But I always want to be authentic to who I am, so that people know that I'm being 100% transparent. I'm not hiding anything, behind the the curtain. Like, I'm not the Wizard of Oz. I'm not behind the cloak. I'm there. So that when I'm representing them, Erin, they know I'm being me and I'm not being somebody else when I'm not with them. And that's the only way I know how to live. And I think the one piece of advice that I was given as a young kid by my dad that I always live by, and I think more of us need to take this attitude is, life is not a dress rehearsal. We don't get another opportunity to do this, right? This is our one chance at life, and we better knock it out the park and not have all these regrets at the end of the day. And am I able to follow that 100% all the time? Absolutely not. But it's always there with me, and I try to live by that mantra, and I try to stay true to that on a daily basis.
Awesome. So one more thing that I think that people listening would really like to know, because you've alluded to it a lot, but maybe just getting a little more into the nitty gritty and the specifics. So obviously, if you did 55 transactions by yourself last year, you were running a fast pace, right? And you're going from listing appointment to showing to listing appointment to showing. I mean, that's a lot of closings. That's a lot of clients, and that's a lot of work. I mean, let's be real. So how did you fit in any kind of prospecting or lead generation? Or when your business becomes so busy, does it become reactive by nature? Or how do you schedule in your proactive? How do you make sure that you're still working on your business, not just in your business? And then what does that look like for you? Like, what do you consider a successful day in terms of prospecting, lead gen, and just being on purpose with your business? I mean, those are the industry words, but it's really just about, like, you talk about, I want to give value, I want to connect, I want to build relationships. Like, what does that mean for you? What does that look like?
Well, I think that, and this is not to sound, pig-headed or anything like that, but I like 55 transactions in a year. I don't think that's a lot, right? I think I could quite easily do double that. But it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. Now, yes, I'm a solo agent, but I do have a team that deals with all my paperwork, all the transactional side, and a full-time assistant. So I've got that, that support. So really, I'm making sure that I'm outsourcing the lower dollar an hour work so that I can focus on the high dollar amount work, which is, being on listing appointments, writing contracts, negotiating contracts, closing transactions, following up, and getting referrals. So I think the thing is, yes, it was really busy, and at times, I'm working a lot, but at the end of the day, you do have to focus on the business building, even when you're busy, because the number of times back in the day, I would close a ton of business over a month or 2 months, and then it was like tumbleweeds for the next 2 months because I hadn't focused on, maintaining and growing my business when I just got busy. So the way that I do things is I split my day up. I don't take appointments in the morning, so I focus on working on my business in the morning, and then in the afternoons working in my business. So I'm very clear about what I'm doing in the morning is working on my business, building my business, making my calls, meeting people, for coffee appointments and building these relationships. So I'm working in the business, and then I run all my actual real estate appointments in the afternoon or, early evening. But at the end of the day, I don't want to work 24/7. I don't think that's healthy. It's not my balance. It's not what I want to do. I want to have my own balance because I have an 8 and a 6-year-old, and I want to spend time and grow with them and be a leader to them. So I think the big thing for me is I set expectations with my clients and say, really, I don't take appointments after 6 o'clock at night. And as long as they know that, they're fine with it. They're not going to go and find another real estate agent just because you can't meet with them after 6 o'clock. So be confident in who you are and set parameters, set barriers, set expectations.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I used to, in the early years in the business when I was just hungry, for anything to pay the bills.
You're riding your bike.
Yeah, exactly. When I rode my bike because I was out of gas money. So I definitely felt that there came a point in my career where I knew that if I wanted to get from where I was to where I wanted to be, if I wanted to get to the next level, I needed to create some kind of structure amidst the chaos. Like our our industry by design or by nature is very reactive, because if the
100%.
phone rings and it's a client looking for help, you want to drop everything and help them. Or, you know, if an appraisal comes in low and that's going to affect the transaction, that's an emergency sort of that you need to kind of drop everything and address. There's timelines, and there is a sense of urgency in our industry by nature. So I realized there was that putting some structure into the day became really important. And I have found that my most clear-headed work, my most creative time, whether it be thinking about ways to connect with past clients and give value, whether it be planning an event, a client appreciation event so we can see each other, or ideas that I want, you know, to have my assistant help with executing. I find that my creative time is best in the morning before my brain gets clouded by any transactional information. And so I started getting really protective of that time, where in the past I might do a coffee appointment at 9 or 10, a lunch appointment at 12, maybe a coffee at 1:30, and then another appointment at 4. It just seemed like in between those times, when you have a half hour here, an hour there, it's hard to really get in the zone and be on purpose with your business. And I think that carving out that time, it sounds easier said than done, and it's a really hard thing to do. But if we don't protect our time and put very specific scheduling into working on my business, whether that be making calls, sending notes, sending gifts, whatever it might be, it will not get done, because you need to be really like fired up, clear-headed, and in the zone. So I definitely think starting any appointments later in the morning, or even after, you know, from noon on, can be key to productivity, to just give yourself 3 or 4 hours at the very minimum of just working on your business and being really purposeful. So it's interesting to hear that you're similar in that way.
Well, and I think the other thing is, like, I go to bed super early, like like just after we put our kids to bed sometimes, but I get up super early because I want to start my day at 4:30 in the morning, because I get anxious if I wake up any later than that, because I feel like I'm behind already. But that hour that I have, that first hour between 4:30 and 5:30.
We're just going to have to stop there, okay? So there it is. Okay, guys, the secret to your success is, if you're not waking up at 4:30 in the morning, you're behind the 8 ball. Get it together. Get up earlier. Come on. If you want to be Euan Graham, you need to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, I mean, I'm sorry. That's amazing. And I think that's commitment right there.
But it's about having that time that my kids are still sleeping, Mia's still sleeping, I've got an hour at home to do the things that I need to do to set me up for success that day. And if I miss that, which it sometimes happens, I don't get up at 4:30 every single day, but I might be 45, I might decide I'm tired, I want to sleep in until 5:15. But that, you know, I want to sleep in until 5:15. But I'm
laughing in solidarity, because people make fun of me for waking up early too. I do like to get up around 5:30. I find that my kids don't get up till 6:30. We have to wake them up for school at that time. And it's such an important part of my day. And if I don't do it, and if I let myself think that another 30 minutes of sleep is going to be a game changer for my day, it always results in the opposite. I always have more energy waking up earlier, spending some time just breathing, being alone, drinking some coffee, writing down some things I'm grateful for, reading something to get me fired up. I will always have a better day. It doesn't matter. I will always have more energy and be more fired up if I do that than if I wake up and go immediately into reactive mode with kids, school, work, everything.
And that's the thing. It's like, if you know, if we look at the majorly successful people, they're not in a hamster wheel. They're not like running in this wheel constantly. They're spending time on themselves. They're spending time in reflective mode. They've got time to be creative on their own, and that's okay, because they're not, you know, in that hamster wheel the whole day, and then you don't get anything done. like people listen out there, you've got to spend and focus on yourself as well. You've got to spend time on you so that you're set up for success, and that you have time to put the plan in place and then execute it. That you have time to if you exercise, to make sure you get that in daily. You have time to do these things so that you're filling yourself up, so that you're able to really knock it out of the park when you're at that point. So I agree.
Yep. Well, I love it. And honestly, this is why I love hanging out with you, because it doesn't matter if we sit down and talk for 30 minutes or 2 hours. I always leave fired up, and, you get together with people that are like-minded or are maybe ahead of you in the game. You're always going to be propelled forward by doing so. And I'm really grateful for you, Euan, and I'm just grateful for what you bring to the community of real estate in the Denver metro area. If anybody's looking for a good agent not a good agent, one of the best, this is it. Contact Euan Graham with the Graham Group at Madison Company Properties. He's amazing. And as you can tell, there's a true authenticity to how he takes care of not only his clients, but his friends, colleagues, mentees, you name it. So reach out to Euan. He's always willing to help. And thanks, Euan. I knew this was going to be amazing, and I'm glad that we started with you. So,
well, I'm just thankful to be on number one on your podcast, and I just want to say Woo! That you inspire me always, Erin. You're a huge mentor to me, and your success drives me. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of you and all your achievements and your success. And I know this next venture with the podcast and with Pursuing Freedom is going to be a monumental success, because everything you do turns to gold. And I love calling you one of my best friends, and we get to do stuff like this, and we both have that same mindset, how we treat our clients and how we bring value. So love doing this with you. I would love to do it again down the line, and thanks so much for having me on.
All right, here's 2018. May it be your best year ever.
Always.